Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody. Good morning,
Best day of the
hospitality.
week. Let's go. You guys amped for this beautiful Monday?
I am, although it is really, really rainy here right now, which is sad. It was beautiful yesterday, but it's changed quite quickly.
Is this the last time we're going to see Brandy in this new background, or is she going to be in a new theme every week?
Yeah, I think next week will be Miami background. I leave tomorrow, so
Awesome.
Yeah.
Back to the homeland.
back to the homeland.
Michael, what about you? How's it going in Auburn? Right? You're in Auburn. You're in
Felt
Alabama.
like the swamp this weekend. It was gross. So ready for
Productive
August to be
weekend
over.
or productive weekend or no?
Yeah, I did sit down and get some work done. It wasn't planned, but you catch some time and you have a to-do list. So
100%.
just knock it out, man. Just knock it out.
Yeah.
How about you? You get wild?
Oh yeah, so wild from my studio apartment, just me, myself, and I, just getting litty. Just kidding. We had a good chill weekend. Mostly caught up on rest. I haven't been sleeping well the last couple weeks, so just kind of, I think it's getting ready for the move. I'm moving just 30 minutes south, so getting a little angsty.
Yeah,
But
it's like the jitters before you do it.
Yeah, plus all the packing, I just hate it. And I'm thinking about, September and October, and it's just going to be crazy, and there's conferences and travel. It's just going to be a whole thing,
I know.
So, yeah, all that kicking through. But I'm excited for this episode. This kind of came in perfect timing with all of our past episodes. But before we jump into today's topic, we do have to shout out both of our sponsors at once, because that's a rare moment we get to do. If you don't know, TravelNet and Sojo, they're doing a webinar all about branding and how this can directly impact your revenue. So make sure that you grab the link in the show notes. We'll put a link in the comments here as well for the live, and make sure you sign up so you don't miss out on more information from Sojo and TravelNet. And that will be happening tomorrow, August 8th. If you're listening on August 7th, you'll catch it the next day on Tuesday. The not best day of the week. Monday's the best day. Remember it. All right. Now, Michael, do you want to crack us off? I don't know why I said crack us off, but you want to kick us off?
Words are hard today.
They are hard. I can't speak at all for a podcaster.
So we've seen some mega companies, traditional hospitality companies, crack into vacation rentals, and one of the biggest has just announced a pilot program with some of our closest friends of the show. Amex Travel is now offering vacation rentals through their platform. If you've watched this show before, I love new ventures and opportunities from big corporate companies. It is solidifying for the vacation rental industry to have such big companies starting to invest time and resources into it. We've seen Google, we've seen obviously Hopper, we've seen Marriott, some of the other hotel brands have tried. Some have tried and failed. Some are trying in various ways. But to be quite frank, I book almost everything directly. The only thing I've used that's a third party in the past 12 months was Amex Travel. And they have fantastic perks. It's all through your card. You can use points. So I love it. I'm very curious to learn more about this as the story develops, but we know right now that they've chosen some pretty high-end markets to start out with, which makes sense because I guess typically your Amex traveler is going to be more upscale if they're paying to use a credit card. But yeah, want to pause there and let y'all fill in some thoughts.
Go ahead, Brandy.
Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense. actually, now that it's happening, I'm kind of surprised they weren't one of the pioneers of getting into the luxury side of our industry. But I think you're totally right. This adds another layer of legitimacy to the industry. It's getting, these amazing companies in front of more people that maybe wouldn't choose that option normally. And I think just the sheer, like the status and the size of Amex Travel is going to be amazing. I can't wait. Maybe in a couple months or a year, we can have our friends share some data with us. But they are about to see, I would think, some like huge, huge benefits from being on that platform.
Yeah, to throw some numbers behind it, and this is, I guess, a year and a half old, but in 2021, so still pandemic time period, Amex Travel did, or American Express Travel did 4.9 billion in sales. So they are a monster joining in.
Just a little.
The fact that, yeah, to your point, Brandy, the fact that they haven't touched vacation rentals before is a little fascinating, but they pretty much have every hotel that you would want in cities, especially. I've only used them in cities, but I'm excited to bring castles onto their platform soon.
Yeah.
If anybody's
Castles
listening
next.
from Amex today, my name's Michael. You can reach out to me directly. But we'd love to learn more about this program as well. So you don't want to violate any of our close friends' NDAs by any stretch of the imagination, but it is an exciting time for the industry. It should drive more revenue. It's more competition for the OTAs. It's more diversity, which is what property managers want and need. So hopefully it works and delivers, unlike some other companies we've covered on this show before.
I was just going to say, man, it's perfect timing, just like a credit card company, to see one of their competitors be a little weak, go through a little bit of a public breakup, aka Hopper and Expedia. And when that happened, it's honestly perfect timing. I know they could have gotten into the vacation rental game sooner, but I think this is perfect. After the demise of Hopper and Expedia, plus now this huge opportunity. And I love how they went about it. They went directly to the operator, just like Marriott Homes and Villas did. I think that's the best way to obviously build the relationship rather than going through a third party. So I'm excited. This is perfect timing. It couldn't have gotten any, better for the drama that's been happening. I
For
think
our
all
news
of
cycle.
yeah, for our news cycle, to be honest, like this was perfect. It was like, yes, you made this Monday morning so easy because it obviously ties into everything else. But yeah, I think this is going to be great. I'm a big fan, and I can't wait for Amex to be a sponsor one day too. They're going to really come in and just bring some of this knowledge and level to the show.
Call your
So
shots, Will. Call your
Yeah.
shots.
I'm manifesting it right now.
Yeah, I think that's where, that's kind of a natural segue into the comparison between this program and Homes and Villas. Because when Homes and Villas started off, we were kind of, I don't know how early we were, but pretty early on. And the due diligence process was very, very thorough. The requirements were very intense. And we were like, this is just an OTA. Like, why am I getting cybersecurity insurance? But then over time, their goal was to have more and more products on the platform. So you can't do a site visit to every single unit. And, so they're kind of, I think their expectations changed, right? And what they were allowing on the site. And I'll be curious. I have to imagine that Amex is going to be a little bit more strict. Just looking at the companies. You don't think so, Michael? I
would think so.
But I guess I could see the other side where they're going to want to see the volume of, business going through there.
I've got some stats for you.
Okay. Hit us with them.
Well, separate from the stats, basically when you go and book travel on Amex, they'll show you all of their premier luxury stuff. But if you go down far enough into the budget where I play, they'll also show you hostels. So they go all the way down into hostels on the booking site. They have 2,000 hotels around the world. And the benefit of booking it is basically 5x membership rewards points if you book it through Amex, which is huge. I mean, if you're spending, I don't know the average vacation, call it $5,000 of total spend with flights and hotels and food and all of that. You're spending that and you're getting 5x in rewards. that's a pretty chunky set of rewards. I think the other interesting part of it, 60% of Amex's new members are Gen Z or millennials. So people that are paying for Amex Platinum, they are largely in the younger generation. And I think a lot of that's what is spurred on this vacation rental, short-term rental component, because millennials and Gen Zs do skew more towards the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs of the world, but now we'll have to call them the Amexes of the world. So I think with the changing demographic of their users, plus the pretty nice rewards to book through their platform, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I
and
am
I
too.
think we'll see kind of this test pilot group of 12, and I'll be curious to see when they start ramping up their options and how I can get Romy on there
I was
as
just
fast
gonna
as
say,
possible.
I was like, hey Brandy, why didn't we see your Romy on that list? You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, we can talking about like the kind of distribution component. They're obviously doing this directly with a PMS, and so that's, I think that is the holdup with a lot of this stuff, is like just like the technical part of being integrated with as many PMS as possible. So, and it strikes me is that they're not going with using another channel manager like Rentals United, but that will be a faster way for them to get more inventory.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's probably controlled between now and the end of the year. Honestly, the timing of launching it's a little suspect to me as well, right after peak season summer. So they probably want to get 6 months of trial and error under their belts. Some of the markets they've picked, like Park City, it's starting to book for the winter, I would imagine. But smart not to jump in the deep end with lots of properties all over with loads of integrations. So I do think they'll probably follow the Marriott footprint of start hyper focused and then expand that out to the more broader market. But I do hope that unlike Airbnb, that they keep a level of standards somewhere. So
It's hard with that because obviously they want to grow their inventory, and there's just like you can stay at a hotel that leaves you wanting more, that obviously happens. And it could be room to room, just like, a clean got missed or something like that. So I think it's very hard to control the quality of the product. And you really, I guess, just have to have, based on reviews and things like that before it to like get people off of the platform if they're a bad operator. But it's a struggle. So I don't know. I think that managing this kind of component is more taxing than some OTAs might realize. I don't know, Michael, when you book a hotel through Amex Travel and you have an issue, are you dealing directly with the hotel or do you go through Amex to solve everything?
It depends. So I booked through Amex during COVID, when COVID first launched, and then everything basically fell off a cliff. I booked one thing on Booking, and I booked one thing direct, and I booked one thing on Amex. My wife and I were taking a little trip. I got the direct back first because I knew the guy. I got Amex back after a week or so, and I never got the Booking stuff back.
That's shocking to me because I feel like our guests get stuff back up from booking.com all the time.
Classic booking.com.
So I want to put scale in perspective here a little bit. The sales that American Express Travel did in 2021 was, I mentioned, 4.9 billion. Airbnb's total revenue in 2021 was just under 6 billion. So they're pretty close to size of Airbnb a couple years ago. I know Airbnb's grown a little bit since, but it's not a small shop. They're huge. Heather, thanks for your comments. We will be reaching out to Amex this week. If anyone else wants to get on this list, please let us know, and we can maybe compile a low-hanging fruit for Amex and do a little bit of work for them. So, Brandy,
Michael, man,
your name's added to the list too. So
Michael's going above and beyond for the GMH listeners today. I love it.
Storied collection will be listed. We'll be the first European properties listed by Amex. Mark my words.
Hey, manifest.
Probably not.
Just...
No, I think if we just manifest hard enough, it will happen.
100%. Well, speaking of companies that were listed, shout out to our friends at Moving Mountains, Robin Cragen and Heather, killing it out here in Colorado. And then, of course, our friends Dennis at Casiola Vacation Homes, who did call in to leave some comments and a question. So I don't know. Are you guys ready for a little quick comment and question from Dennis?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get him on.
From Casiola Vacation Homes. We're so proud that Casiola was one of the launching partners for the new American Express Travel Select Homes Plus Retreats last week. Another huge player moving into our industry and making it available for guests to earn or redeem points while booking vacation rentals. We really have high hopes for this one, but I wonder who's going to be next? Which other amazing company is going to join and benefit our industry? What's your guys' opinion?
All right, who do we think? Who do you think is going to come in and be the next Amex, the next player? That was a fun one because I had a hard time actually whipping up some companies. So love to know your guys' thoughts around all that.
Well, I think that naturally it's all of the credit card companies. Anyone that has a travel rewards program is going to start figuring out like, okay, how do we tap in to this huge market? It's what our customers want. And just seeing a competitor have a product, usually spurs people on. I would say Chase is probably so I have the Chase travel credit card, and the hotel booking side isn't as great, and I don't use it that much, so that's with a grain of salt. But I would assume the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the competitor to the Amex Platinum, so I would assume that they're trying to get on board soon. And if you're listening, anyone from Chase, I know a company in South Florida, New Orleans, that would love to get on board.
They'll test it out. Well, Dennis, you may have missed our show last week. I think it was last week. But Walmart is now in the space. I think, it hasn't really struck the mainstream yet, in my opinion. I haven't seen it anywhere but our little industry echo chambers. But that could have massive, massive potential. So again, props to Walmart and Expedia for sorting that out. They were, we'll have to revert back to last week's numbers, but there were like 390 million site visits a month by Walmart. Just a massive amount of volume. Who would I like to see? If anyone watches the show regularly, they know I love Delta. Delta Vacations does a lot of packages. They've never done them with short-term rentals. Again, Storied Collection, we're happy to help Delta. You've got my number. I know you do. And then, competition with Walmart, Amazon could make sense as a travel group. But who's most likely is probably another hotel brand, an IHG of the world. We saw Hyatt recently buy Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We know Marriott's obviously already got one. Choice Hotels shut down their vacation rental division. Accor owns One Fine Stay. So IHG is kind of the one that hasn't made a play yet. I don't know if Hilton has either. So maybe one of those two.
Hilton kind of came out with that. Remember that thing that we kind of made fun of during the pandemic where you can get the adjoining hotel rooms as your vacation rental option. Yeah. My hope, and I don't think this will happen due to the certain kind of, news that happened with Apple, but Apple, I was hoping would be the next company to go into this type of travel with their new credit card, but Goldman Sachs is trying to back out of the credit card. So with all the drama happening there, I was hoping that we can get away with it, but I don't think that will happen. But if anyone from Apple's listening
and wants to sponsor the show, I don't need, my life right now is so bound to the Apple ecosystem that adding another component is, I'm like, oh my God, I will literally never be able to escape.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I worked on an Apple hotel concept I was a consultant. I think my NDA is certainly up 12, 15 years ago. That was 2006. So yeah, a long time ago. The concept was actually like what the world has come to. You use your iPhone to get into the room. You log in, so it's got all your music from your iPod. They had
Apple
iPads
Music.
in the room. It was very futuristic in 2006. It was a Dubai hotel concept in conjunction with Apple, but it did not materialize. So yeah, they have thought about it. I don't know how serious they were considering it, or they just kind of, big companies like for a lot of people to do a lot of work for them, and then they ball it up and throw it off to the side. So I don't necessarily love Apple in hospitality myself.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I like Walmart in hospitality better than I like Apple.
Well, that's
I use more Apple day to day than I use Walmart. So my thinking is, if I have an
All right,
iPhone,
Mr.
an
Bougie.
iPad, and hey, I'm just being honest. I'm like, dude, everything on me is Apple. I don't do anything else. So thinking of, their credit card, it was hopefully going to be a good program, but with Goldman Sachs trying to back out of all the banking and stuff, it just is now. Anyways, kind of not going to happen. But anyways, Brandy, go ahead. Looks like you have something to add.
No, I think Heather commented about the people of Walmart travel. So if for those who don't know, there's a website, peopleofwalmart.com, and it's just like pictures of people doing ridiculous stuff or being ridiculous in Walmart. And I absolutely agree that there will become probably some sort of meme account based on this. If anyone has seen the Humans of Spirit Airlines, I think that is kind of adjacent to that. It'll be the Walmart version. But I think it's really, I mean, just because you're not using it all the time, Will, there are many, many people using Walmart. But I think that the real battle there is going to be with Amazon, because they're like the next kind of, I can't imagine Bezos is going to let this just slide away. He needs to try to get into every industry before someone tries to break him up. So I would think that would, plus our Alexas are all listening to us now anyways. So they can probably plan our vacations before we even know we want to take them.
They know where we want to go for our next trip, and they can just go ahead and send it to us. I mean, Google's the same way. There was a destination that my wife and I were talking about a few weeks ago. I've never searched it in my entire life, and boom, literally 10 minutes later, ad from Google about this destination. So
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, after our Walmart episode last week, I think I sent you guys a screenshot where I was open up social media, and the first ad I got served was a Walmart like surfer ad, where it was like kind of like a travel. I don't know if it's dedicated to travel, but definitely a Walmart ad, and it was definitely somewhere in the realm of experiences, travel, all that stuff. So very interesting to see how fast those get served up. I would be shocked if Amazon didn't do it. But if you were to guess outside of the obvious, would you have any sneaky players that you think would come in out of the blue, unexpected, that would be a complete shock to everybody?
I don't think this is necessarily realistic, but maybe one of like the classic millennial companies that like Away Suitcase comes out with their, travel itinerary. I think that the problem is that it really does take a lot of infrastructure to build out these travel networks, and it's expensive. So I look at Hopper. They're really trying, and they have a lot of funding. They are aligned with a bank, and even they're struggling. So I think it's difficult for a niche left field player to come in and really make a difference, unless it is so niche that like they're successful simply because of that.
Or it's a PR machine, right?
Right.
The thing that Airbnb has done so well is to brand everybody else's properties as theirs, and They are an absolute PR machine. Good, bad, ugly. They're in the news just about every week. Gwyneth Paltrow now lists her house in an illegal market called Malibu on Airbnb. So they
How
don't
do you think she
care.
got away?
It could
How
be
do you think she got away
illegal.
with that?
It could be illegal. It doesn't matter. It's still going to be in the press, and it's still good press for them. I saw in the comments that Hyatt is supposed to be live next month. And I also got a text from a friend in the connectivity world who confirms that. So interesting update. Yeah, it wasn't one of the three I mentioned because Hyatt did just buy Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But we know Hyatt's been poking around in the space. They invested early days in One Fine Stay and then basically traded with Accor. Accor took One Fine Stay and Oasis Collections went from Accor to Hyatt.
Yeah.
Oasis fell apart, yada yada. They're back to some extent, but good to see another hotel brand jumping in. If the hardest thing to do is get a loyal traveler base that books through your platform, and if you have that, there's no reason you shouldn't try and expand upon that. So I like Hyatt. It's one of my favorite hotel brands personally. So
I don't love, I mean, I anytime the hotels are getting into this industry, they have so much muscle, so much, like the financing, the kind of like institutional knowledge of all this. And, obviously they've been working on really breaking into the short-term rental industry, but I don't love it for this, for the sake of kind of the medium-sized operators out there where you like potential future growth could potentially be compromised, or it could be something positive and Hyatt could buy you out and you take your golden parachute and fly away. So I'm I'll say cautiously optimistic about all of the hotel entrances to the industry.
I feel like that this whole travel program entrance, whether it's Hopper or Amex or anybody like that, I would think it is kind of good for the industry though, because like Michael said, this has to be not just for exposure, but I think for maybe those medium-sized operators that don't have the most set forth brand standards when it comes to turnover and amenities or furnishing, other stuff like that. I think this is good because then it can hopefully push more people towards standardization, at least on the operations side. Obviously, every property, whether it's a building or a single individual, single family home, they all have their quirks or individuality pieces. But hopefully, like a program like this I know it's pushed a lot of people for when Homes and Villas, Marriott program came out, pushed a lot of operators, especially in the smaller realm from under 10 units or 10 to maybe 20, where they had to up their game. And I think maybe that something like this could really help with bigger operators and smaller ones too.
The thing that is and always has been missing in vacation rentals is a brand. Vacasa is not a household brand. Sonder is not a household brand, despite both of those being publicly traded. Hyatt is a household brand. Amex is a household brand. So is who's the other one we're talking about? Obviously Marriott, but Walmart, obviously. So I think it takes a brand like that to make a big push. And they're going to test the market before they start buying companies. But I wouldn't be surprised if they also start to acquire some of the bigger companies and do a roll up. So they own more than just the distribution piece. We'll see. That's definitely more out there than just building a listing site for Hyatt or Marriott. But if you want to control the product, you can't just list it. And they're pros at franchising and setting standards. So let's see. I think this is all very, very good news for the industry. It's professionalizing all of us. It's leveling up, and I can't wait. It's been 3 weeks in a row we've talked about new companies getting into the space. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it's
Agreed.
positive news. And then Heather quickly asked, I think, the definition of a medium-sized company. And I use this as a blanket term because it's kind of encompassing everyone in the middle of the bell curve, right? Like you have your kind of smaller mom and pop operators, maybe 5 to 20 units. And then you have the large operators like Sonder, Vacasa, who have, thousands and thousands of units. And I think the mediums kind of fall in the middle of that because it also can be revenue based depending on what you're talking about. So I think that's the medium for me kind of covers the middle of the bell curve, and we can work on a definition. But that's kind of what I'm referring to.
Yes, I like it. I like that definition. And for more things that we can work on, just a heads up to all of our listeners, we are working on some fun, exciting GMH stuff. We'll have more to announce in the next coming weeks, but just get ready because we're going to start building out more than just the podcast. So that could help. Maybe, am I giving away too much, guys? Do you think I'm telling too much?
No, you're leaving a lot of Easter eggs. So
All right, good. That's what we want to make sure.
I'm curious what we're talking about because we throw
I
some
know, I'm
wild
like-
ideas around, Will.
It's all
Fill us
in
in
the
after
group
the
chat.
show.
It's all in the group chat, guys. Anyways, any final closing comments? I know we've had a good amount of people. Thank you, Heather, for tuning in. Thank you, Terry, for also commenting and contributing to the episode. You guys are greatly appreciated. You can always call in with the hospitality hotline that we do every week, but I love the comments and the ongoing conversation. Final thoughts, you two, before we wrap up this episode.
Yeah, well, I just want to give a quick shout out to my grandmother who's sitting next to me, named B. She's
on
like
the
a
screen.
huge supporter, and
What up, B?
we finally figured out how to have her listen, and I can talk at the same time. So she's our biggest
Nice.
GMH supporter. So shout
Let's
out
go.
to B.
We got to get her a t-shirt and a coffee
Yes,
mug.
a whole merch set.
immediately. A whole merch set. I love it. What about you, Michael? Any final closing thoughts?
Just looking through the comments again, Terry White mentioned JetBlue. They've done a lot of investment in the space. They were investors in, I know, Transparent, and they sold, got an exit there. There are some other hotel players that poke around in the venture world. That's certainly one way to get exposure into the segment and kind of maybe bet on some horses and see what comes out. But I'm not sure JetBlue has the scale that any of the other companies we've mentioned to make a material impact at this point. They did just launch their first, I think, New York to London flight, which is great. Again, if anyone wants to stay in a castle, just let us know. But 3 shameless plugs in one episode. I've never done that.
I was gonna say, does Romy and Story want to just sponsor the podcast? If that's, we could just do that instead.
Yes.
Make it easy.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for all of our live listeners for tuning in. We're gonna be amping up our YouTube channel and a bunch of our social media stuff. So get ready to like and follow and subscribe to all those different places. Shout out to B for being our #1 listener and supporter. We love her for that. And as always, we'll see you guys again next week.